Hi, my name is Ron Gordon. I work for Mainline in Power Systems. And I'd like to talk today about recovery of SAP HANA environments where the virtual and real memory attributes of SAP HANA may need to be recovered. So we start with the initial issue or situation where SAP HANA runs on Linux and it works with an in-memory database. Now, in-memory databases are based upon the size of the customer's database, which can be up to 24 terabytes. Now, while this is large, not everybody is running at that size, but if you move to that size, it will probably take 4 hours to load that data. And then you can start running your ERP, your BW, etc. applications. So the problem exists where, what if you have a situation where you must restart the HANA environment? Well, then you have to reload the data and you're at minimum taking a 4-hour outage. Well, what SAP has done is they've created a couple mediation points for this. The first one is called fast restart, where rather than having the memory contain the data in the DIMMs, they change by using a Linux facility, which is an in-memory file system called tempfs. So then when you load the data, still takes 4 hours, it's loaded into a memory file system. So if you need to update HANA, since the operating system is not restarted, the temporary file system owned by Linux is still available. However, if you have to restart Linux, you have now lost this and you have to reload. Now, the other thing they did to mitigate this situation is they created another option called native storage extension. In this case, rather than putting the full 24 terabytes of data in memory, you as a user specify how much memory you want that's considered your hot data. So maybe you say, I need 12 terabytes of hot data. Well, what about the other 12? You can specify a temporary region, which HANA then manages and brings historic or old data in and out of that. Now that creates a minor performance delay, but since you're ostensibly working with the hot data, if you need to completely restart, now you only have to reload 12 terabytes, 2 hours. So what this means is these are the situations that customers run into. HANA restart. I have to do an update to HANA. In that case, fast restart is fine. It solves the problem of reloading the database. But if you have to restart the operating system, you will lose that temporary file system. And since VM and system restarts lose the OS, you also must completely reload. So it really only addresses when you have to update HANA. Now the other one, the native storage extensions, is very, very similar. Meaning if you lose the OS, if you lose the VM, or if you lose the system, you also must restart and reload the data. What you have saved here over the first one is that the amount of data that you have to reload is less, saving you time. Now, there's two other options that have become available through technology. One of them is on the x86 systems, a memory DIMM called Optane. Now, Optane sits behind the memory DIMMs in main memory. And Optane memory, I'll use an analogy, is similar to your thumb drive, where it does not require power. If you put data on your thumb drive, there's no power associated with it, and the data is always there. So if I liken Optane memory to NAND, if this system is running and I lose power, the data contained on the Optane memory DIMMs is still there and you need not reload it. So in this particular case, you can update HANA, you can do an OS restart, you can do a VM restart, but you could also lose the power to the system and you still have eliminated that 4-hour startup. Sounds great, but there's always a couple of things. First of all, the memory is slower. So you may be looking at a 10 to 15% performance impact, which may not or may affect your SLA or your customer response times depending on your loads. And the other thing is there is an associated higher cost with this. But again, that is a solution depending on what problem you're trying to solve. Now, Power Systems recently came out with a slightly different solution, and it's called virtual persistent memory. And the way this works, it uses the hypervisor and virtualization capabilities of Power. And you tell the HMC how much memory you wish to retain permanently. Then you load the database, but the hypervisor, through the HMC definition, knows do not eliminate, set to 0, this memory address range. So if I update HANA, the memory is still there. If I do an operating system restart, the memory is still there. If I do a VM restart, the memory is still there. The only case that I will lose this memory is if I have to have a catastrophic problem or do a system restart, and then it is lost. But no performance impact and no cost to you. Everybody that's running on Power Systems today, this is just an option that you turn on. So those are your choices: fast restart, native storage extensions, Optane, or persistent memory to retain the resiliency of your SAP HANA environment. Thank you.